The last laugh. Governor Zach Still of the Concordiat adjusted his crystalline viewing apparatus, mandibles twitching with barely contained amusement as he studied the holographic projection of Earth. The blue-green planet rotated slowly in the center of the grand observatory, its crude satellites and space debris field clearly visible to the assembled alien dignitaries. "Observe," he clicked, gesturing toward a thermal reading of North America. "They still burn hydrocarbons for energy." Hydrocarbons, like primitives huddled around a fire. The gathered representatives of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations chittered and buzzed with laughter. High Commander Verilox floating nearby, her bioluminescent tentacles pulsing with mirth. "Did you know they still haven't solved their atmospheric carbon problem? We offered them basic antimatter catalysts, and they declined." Another wave of laughter rippled through the chamber. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the same gathering through a quantum-entangled feed, her face illuminated by dozens of holographic displays. She didn't smile at their mockery. Instead, she touched the simple silver pendant at her neck, a gift from her late mentor, Dr. James Morrison, who had sacrificed his life to protect their secret. "They're watching the surface again," she announced to the vast underground chamber. Hundreds of scientists and engineers looked up from their workstations, their faces reflecting the soft blue glow of quantum containment fields. The facility, known only as Deep Harbor, stretched for miles through the mountain's heart, invisible to any known form of detection. "Let them watch," Dr. Marcus Rodriguez replied, not looking up from the complex equations floating in the air before him. "They see what they want to see." His fingers danced through the holographic numbers, making minute adjustments to the quantum fold calculations that had become his life's work. Sarah walked through the central research hub, past rows of quantum computers that made the Concordiat's most advanced systems look like children's toys. The aliens believed humanity had rejected their help out of pride or fear. The truth was far more interesting. Humanity had already surpassed them in ways they couldn't imagine. 20 years ago, when the Concordiat first arrived with their patronizing offers of technological assistance, Earth's governments had made a shocking discovery. Hidden in ancient texts and archaeological sites around the world were fragments of an impossible truth. Humanity had once been far more advanced than they currently were. Some catastrophe had reset their civilization, but traces of that knowledge remained, waiting to be rediscovered. Dr. Morrison had been the first to understand the significance of the quantum patterns found in ancient Sanskrit texts. Before his death, he had unlocked the first key to humanity's lost legacy. The quantum fold, a technology that didn't just cloak objects, but folded them between dimensions, making them truly undetectable. "Final test sequence initiating," announced Dr. Yuki Tanaka from her station. The chamber hummed with anticipation as the prototype quantum fold drive powered up. Unlike the Concordiat's brute force approach to space travel, the quantum fold was elegant, subtle, and completely invisible to conventional sensors. Sarah watched the test results flood her display. Every previous attempt had ended in failure, but this time felt different. The quantum harmonics were holding steady, the dimensional barriers remaining stable as the test object. A simple steel sphere began to shift between realities. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. Sarah's heart raced as she checked the readings, but a smile spread across her face. "It's not failing," she announced. "It's working better than we predicted. The sphere isn't just shifting, it's completely phase-locked between dimensions." The chamber erupted in cheers as decades of work finally paid off. Humanity's first true quantum fold device was operational, and their alien observers hadn't detected a thing. High above, in the Concordiat's orbital observation post, Governor Zach Still was concluding his presentation. "And so, esteemed colleagues, I propose we reduce our monitoring of Earth. They clearly need another century or two before they're ready for real interstellar contact. Their stubborn insistence on developing their own technology is charming, but ultimately futile." The gathered aliens voted unanimously to decrease their presence in the Sol system. Why waste resources monitoring such an obviously primitive world? Back in Deep Harbor, Sarah stood before the assembled team. 20 years ago, they came to help us, thinking we were children who needed guidance. They never wondered why we declined their assistance. They never questioned why we seemed content with our primitive technology. She touched her pendant again, thinking of Morrison. Today, we proved his theory. The quantum fold works. Within 6 months, we'll have our first ship ready. Within a year, we'll have a fleet they can't detect, track, or stop. Marcus stepped forward, his dark eyes intense. They think they're watching us, but they've only seen what we wanted them to see. An entire shadow civilization, hidden in plain sight. He gestured to the quantum computers surrounding them. Every time they scanned us, their sensors passed right through our quantum-folded facilities. They saw outdated power plants and concluded we were primitive. They never imagined we were building something that would change the galaxy. Sarah nodded, addressing the room. Our ancestors knew things that would terrify the Concordiate. We're not just catching up to them. We're remembering who we used to be. And when the time comes, they'll learn that their primitive humans are anything but helpless. As if to underscore her words, the quantum-folded sphere reappeared in its containment field. Having completed its journey through dimensions the Concordiate didn't even know existed. The gathered scientists burst into applause, but Sarah remained focused. Tomorrow, they would begin constructing humanity's first quantum-fold ship. Let the aliens laugh while they could. The last laugh would belong to Earth. Silent thunder. The quantum-fold ship hung suspended in Deep Harbor's central chamber, its obsidian surface seeming to drink in the light. Unlike the gaudy, massive vessels of the Concordiate, the QS Prometheus was sleek and compact, barely 200 meters long. Its hull, composed of quantum crystalline alloys, rippled with subtle patterns that seemed to vanish when viewed directly. Beautiful, isn't she? Sarah Chen stood beside Admiral James Torres, the newly appointed commander of Earth's quantum fleet. The Admiral, a veteran of Earth's pre-contact Space Force, nodded slowly. Hard to believe it's been only 8 months since the breakthrough, he said, studying the vessel that would soon become his flagship. The Concordiate's satellites haven't detected anything. Sarah smiled. They can't even detect this facility, let alone what we're building inside it. The quantum fold doesn't just hide objects, it shifts them partially out of normal spacetime. We're literally operating in the spaces between their sensor suites. Above them, Dr. Rodriguez supervised the final calibrations from a floating platform. The ship's quantum core pulsed with a deep, almost musical resonance that seemed to bypass the ears and speak directly to the soul. It was nothing like the harsh thrum of Concordiate engines. Final diagnostic complete, Yuki announced from her station. Quantum harmonics are stable across all frequencies. We're ready for the first full ship test. Admiral Torres straightened his uniform. Then let's not waste any more time. The Concordiate's been stepping up their raids on independent worlds in the Orion Arm. They're getting bolder, thinking no one can challenge them. The briefing room adjacent to the chamber filled quickly. Sarah stood before the assembled crew, a mix of military personnel and scientists who had trained together for months in simulators. Today, we make history, she began. The Prometheus isn't just humanity's first quantum-fold ship. It's a completely new type of vessel. Unlike Concordiate ships that brute force their way through space, we'll be sliding between the dimensional barriers themselves. She brought up a holographic display of their test route. We'll quantum fold to the dark side of Luna, remain there for 30 minutes while running full sensor sweeps, then return. The Concordiate has a monitoring station on the lunar surface. We'll pass within 10 kilometers of it. If they detect anything unusual, we abort and return immediately. Marcus took over, his hands moving through the floating diagrams. Remember, everyone, this isn't like normal space travel. When we're quantum-folded, we exist simultaneously in multiple dimensional states. You may experience some temporal displacement sensations, déjà vu, time seeming to skip or stutter. This is normal. The ship's quantum field will keep us phase-locked and stable. As the crew boarded, Sarah touched the silver pendant at her neck one last time. "Wish us luck, James," she whispered, thinking of her mentor. Then she followed Admiral Torres aboard. The Prometheus's bridge was unlike anything in Earth's previous ships or the Concordia's vessels. Instead of traditional controls, quantum crystalline interfaces responded directly to the crew's trained thoughts, guided by subtle hand gestures. The ship itself was almost alive, its systems integrated at a quantum level. "All stations, report," Torres commanded, settling into his chair. "Engineering ready. Quantum core at full capacity. Navigation plotted and locked. Medical standing by. Weapons, though hopefully we won't need them yet." Sarah took her place at the quantum systems station. Quantum fold drive spooling up, beginning dimensional shift in 10 seconds. The ship hummed, its resonance deepening. On the external cameras, they watched as reality seemed to blur around them. There was no violent acceleration, no thunderous departure. The Prometheus simply slipped sideways out of normal space. "Transition complete," Sarah announced. "We are fully quantum folded." The main screen showed their surroundings with perfect clarity, but Sarah knew that to any outside observer, the ship was completely invisible, not cloaked, not hidden, simply not there at all. They accelerated toward the moon, passing through Earth's orbital defense grid, as if it didn't exist. Concordia's satellites swept their sensors through the space the Prometheus occupied, detecting nothing. Minutes later, they hung above the lunar surface. Below them, the Concordia monitoring station bustled with activity, its crew completely unaware of the revolutionary vessel floating directly overhead. "Full sensor sweep," Torres ordered. "Let's see what our friends are up to while they think no one's watching." The results were fascinating. The Concordia's lunar base was far more than a simple monitoring station. It was a forward staging area, with detailed plans for a full military occupation of Earth's solar system, to be implemented once they decided humanity was ready for proper incorporation into their empire. "Arrogant bastards," Torres muttered. "They've already planned out where they'll build their bases, which resources they'll seize first." He shook his head. "They really think we're just going to wait around until they decide to take everything." Sarah studied the quantum readings. "The fold is holding perfectly. We could maintain this state indefinitely." She allowed herself a small smile. "We could build an entire fleet right under their noses." "That's exactly what we're going to do," Torres replied. "Download everything. Every plan, every communication, every dirty little secret they think is safe on their secure networks. It's time humanity learned exactly what kind of friends the Concordia really are." As they prepared to return to Deep Harbor, Sarah noticed something odd in the quantum readings. For just a moment, there had been a resonance pattern she didn't recognize, almost like an echo of their own quantum signature, but impossibly ancient. She filed it away for later study. Right now, they had proved something far more important. Humanity could move invisible through the galaxy, untouchable by the empire that thought them primitive. The real work was about to begin. 3 months later, Governor Zaxtil received a disturbing report from the lunar monitoring station. For a brief moment, all their systems had registered a ghost reading, something that seemed to exist and not exist simultaneously. The governor dismissed it as a sensor malfunction. After all, no known species had technology that could produce such readings. In Deep Harbor, the first 5 ships of humanity's quantum fleet neared completion. Soon, the galaxy would learn that they had overlooked something crucial. Sometimes the most dangerous predators are the ones you never see coming. Breaking chains. Concordia's supply fleet decimated by unknown attackers. The headline blazed across the quantum-secured displays in Deep Harbor's command center. Sarah Chen watched the alien news feeds with quiet satisfaction as reports flooded in from across the Orion Arm. In the past week, 15 separate Concordia supply convoys had vanished without a trace. Admiral Torres stood beside her, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic displays. "They still haven't figured it out," he said, watching footage of confused Concordiat investigators examining empty space where their ships should have been. "They're looking for debris, energy signatures, anything to explain the disappearances." "They won't find anything," Marcus added from his station. "The quantum fold doesn't leave traces. When our ships strike, the target vessels are temporarily shifted into a parallel dimensional state. By the time they reemerge, our fleet is long gone, along with their cargo." The quantum fleet had grown to 20 ships now, each more advanced than the last. The Prometheus led them, but others like the Athena, the Hyperion, and the Helios had proven equally effective. Their raids were precisely calculated to avoid casualties. Cargo was quantum shifted away, leaving confused but unharmed crews floating in suddenly empty vessels. Sarah's quantum monitoring system chimed softly. "Strike Team Beta is engaging the supply chain to the Concordiat's primary shipyard in the Carina sector." The display showed 5 quantum ships materializing briefly to seize a massive convoy of raw materials. Within seconds, both attackers and cargo vanished, leaving bewildered Concordiat crews behind. Governor Zaxtill's public address played on another screen, his mandibles clicking with barely controlled fury. "These attacks on our logistics network are the work of cowards. The Concordiat demands that those responsible reveal themselves and face us honorably." "Honorably?" Torres scoffed. "Like their plans to subjugate Earth once they decided we were right for conquest." Sarah's fingers danced through the quantum interface, analyzing data from the raids. Something had been bothering her. Those strange quantum echoes she'd first detected during the Prometheus's test flight were appearing more frequently. They seemed to pulse in harmony with their ship's quantum signatures, like ancient bells resonating with modern ones. "Dr. Chen," a young technician called out, "you need to see this." He transferred his findings to the main display. The Concordia was mobilizing its fleet, but not to protect its supply lines. They were gathering around primitive worlds like Earth, ones they deemed technologically inferior. "They think one of their protected species has somehow developed advanced technology in secret," Marcus observed. "They're preparing to make examples of any world that dares to challenge them." Admiral Torres straightened. "Then it's time for Phase 2. We've bloodied their nose and shown them they're not invincible. Now we show them exactly who they're dealing with." Sarah nodded, but her attention was drawn back to those quantum echoes. She'd been running comparisons with archaeological data, and a pattern was emerging. The resonances matched fragments of quantum information encoded in ancient structures around Earth, the same fragments that had led to their breakthrough. "Admiral," she said slowly, "I think we need to accelerate our timeline. These quantum echoes, they're not random. They're responses to our ship's signatures. Something out there recognizes our technology." The command center fell silent. The implications were staggering. If something was responding to their quantum fold ships, something that shared characteristics with Earth's ancient past. "How long until the rest of the fleet is ready?" Torres asked. "The next 15 ships can be operational within 2 weeks," Marcus replied. "But Sarah's right. These echoes, they're getting stronger. Whatever's causing them, it's waking up." On the displays, more Concordiat ships gathered around primitive worlds. Their message was clear: step out of line and face annihilation. They still didn't know Earth was responsible for the raids, but their response revealed their true nature. The benevolent mentors were showing themselves to be empire builders who used technological superiority to ensure compliance. "Launch the next phase tonight," Torres ordered. "The Concordiat wants to teach primitive worlds their place. Let's show them exactly how primitive we aren't." As the command center buzzed with activity, Sarah isolated one of the quantum echoes for deeper analysis. The pattern was hauntingly familiar, not just similar to their technology, but an exact match for theoretical models they hadn't even built yet. It was as if something had left breadcrumbs through time, leading humanity toward this moment. In high orbit around Earth, Concordia ships maintained their watch, their crews nervous and alert for any sign of the mysterious raiders. They didn't notice the quantum ripples spreading through space-time, growing stronger as ancient systems stirred to life. Deep within the Rocky Mountains, humanity's quantum fleet prepared for its first full military engagement. The Concordia would soon learn that their primitive subjects had not only mastered technology beyond their understanding, but were about to remind the galaxy of something it had forgotten. Earth had been mighty once before, and it was remembering how to be mighty again. The Dance of Shadows. The Concordia's 7th Battle Fleet hung in formation above the colony world of New Eden, their massive ships casting long shadows across the planet's surface. Admiral Kretax stood on his flagship's command deck, watching as his forces prepared to make an example of another primitive world that had dared to defy the natural order. "No response to our ultimatum," his executive officer reported. "The humans of New Eden maintain they have no knowledge of the attacks on our supply lines." "They lie," Kretax hissed. "These primitives think they can hide their technological advances from us. Begin the demonstration bombardment." But as his ships charged their weapons, reality itself seemed to shiver. 20 quantum-fold ships materialized in perfect formation around the Concordia fleet. The QF's Prometheus led the array, its obsidian hull drinking in starlight. Admiral Torres's voice cut across all frequencies. "This is your only warning. Withdraw from New Eden, or face the consequences of your actions." Kretax's mandibles clicked in rage. Impossible. Earth ships. Here. His sensors showed readings that defied comprehension. Vessels that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, operating on principles his science couldn't explain. "All ships, open fire," he commanded. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes lanced out from the Concordia vessels and passed harmlessly through empty space. The Earth ships had quantum-shifted milliseconds before impact, reappearing instantly in new positions. Aboard the Prometheus, Sarah Chen monitored the quantum field dynamics. "The fleet's quantum synchronization is holding perfectly," she reported. "Their weapons can't touch us while we're phase-shifted." Torres nodded grimly. "Execute attack pattern Sigma. Show them what their primitive humans can do." The quantum fleet moved like a school of predatory fish, flowing through dimensions the Concordia couldn't even perceive. They struck from impossible angles, their advanced weapons temporarily shifting portions of the alien ships out of normal spacetime. Engineering sections, weapon emplacements, and command centers simply vanished, leaving the vessels crippled but their crews alive. "How?" Kretax demanded as his fleet was systematically dismantled. "How did they develop this technology? We've watched them for decades." "You watched what we wanted you to see," Torres replied coldly. "While you mockingly offered us scraps of technology, we rediscovered something far greater." Suddenly, Sarah's quantum sensors screamed with alerts. The mysterious echoes they'd been detecting had grown into a deafening chorus. Space itself seemed to resonate with quantum frequencies that matched their own ship's signatures perfectly. "Admiral," she called out urgently, "something massive is quantum shifting into real space. The signal, it's identical to our technology, but the power readings are off the scale." A vast shape emerged from between dimensions, a station or vessel of impossible size, its architecture hauntingly similar to Earth's quantum ships, but clearly built by far more advanced hands. Ancient symbols glowed along its hull, symbols that matched those found in Earth's archaeological records. All combat ceased as both fleets stared in awe at the massive construct. Sarah's quantum interface pulsed with incoming data. "It's responding to our quantum frequencies," she reported, her voice filled with wonder. "This is what's been echoing our signals. It's downloading information directly into our systems." Marcus rushed to her station, his eyes wide as he processed the incoming data. "This is incredible. Sarah, these are designs, specifications. This station, it's some kind of automated library or archive, and it recognizes our quantum technology as authorized to access its databases. The truth hit Sarah like a thunderbolt. "Because it's not that we copied their technology," she whispered. "They copied ours. Or rather, humanity's original technology, from before whatever catastrophe made us forget." Across all frequencies, a message began to play, first in an ancient language that predated known human civilization, then translating itself into modern languages. Authorization detected. Legacy protocols activated. "Welcome home, children of Earth. The Library of Eternity acknowledges your reawakening." On the Concordiat flagship, Kretax watched in stunned silence as the quantum archive continued to materialize. His sensors couldn't properly process what they were seeing. A structure that existed simultaneously across multiple dimensional planes, built with technology that made his most advanced systems look primitive by comparison. "Admiral Torres," he said finally, his arrogance replaced by uncertain respect, "I believe we need to discuss the terms of our future relationship." "Yes," Torres replied, but his attention was on Sarah and the data streaming from the ancient quantum archive. "I believe we do. But first, humanity has some catching up to do with its own past." As the quantum archive continued its data transmission, Sarah felt her mentor's theories finally confirmed. Humanity hadn't just developed new technology. They had rediscovered their inheritance. And now, facing a gallery of ancient knowledge beyond imagination, they would learn why their civilization had been reset and what role they were meant to play in the galaxy's future. The dance of shadows was ending. A new dance, one of remembrance and rediscovery, was about to begin. A new dawn. The Library of Eternity hung in space like a crystalline dream, its quantum-shifted surfaces reflecting starlight in impossible ways. For 3 days, Earth's fleet had maintained position around the ancient construct, while teams of scientists worked to understand the vast repository of knowledge being downloaded into their systems. Sarah Chen stood in the library's central chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing fragments of humanity's true history. The room's quantum crystalline walls pulsed with soft light, responding to her presence as a recognized descendant of its creators. "It's almost too much to process," Marcus said, standing beside her. "We weren't just advanced before. We were the ones who seeded advanced life throughout the galaxy. The Concordiat, all the other species, they're using fragments of our original technology, copied and modified over millions of years." Admiral Torres entered the chamber, followed by a delegation that included both Earth officials and, surprisingly, Governor Zaxtil himself. The Concordiat leader's earlier arrogance had been replaced by a kind of stunned humility. "The quantum archive has confirmed what the archaeological records only hinted at," Sarah began, addressing the gathered group. "Humanity didn't evolve on Earth. We returned there. When the great catastrophe struck, Earth was chosen as a sanctuary, a place where our species could rebuild from scratch if necessary." She gestured to the displays showing ancient star maps. "Our ancestors were the ones who seeded the galaxy with life, who built the quantum networks that made interstellar civilization possible. But they encountered something out there, something that forced them to make an impossible choice." The holographic displays shifted, showing a vast darkness spreading between the stars. "They called it the void consciousness," Marcus continued, "a form of life that existed in the quantum realm itself, feeding on advanced civilizations. The more technologically advanced a species became, the more it attracted the void's attention. So they hid us," Torres said softly, "regressed our entire civilization, erased our knowledge, and left us to develop again naturally. But they left breadcrumbs. The quantum formulas in ancient texts, the archaeological remnants." "Tests," Sarah nodded. "When we rediscovered quantum technology on our own, developed it in our own way, we proved we were ready to reclaim our heritage. The library wasn't just storing information. It was watching, waiting for humanity to mature enough to face the truth." Governor Zaxtil clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "And all our species, the Concordiat, the others. Experiments," Marcus explained. "Our ancestors seeded different worlds with life, guided their evolution along different paths, looking for species that might help fight the void when it eventually returns. The library's data suggests that time is approaching. Sarah touched her pendant, thinking of Dr. Morrison. He had suspected some of this, had guided their research in directions that would lead to this moment. The quantum fold technology we developed isn't just similar to the ancient versions. It's better. We approached the problem from new angles, found solutions our ancestors hadn't considered. That's why the library responded to us. We didn't just reclaim our past, we improved upon it. The displays showed a new image, vast quantum networks spanning the galaxy, but dark in many places. The library is part of a larger system. Sarah continued. There are more archives out there, waiting to be reactivated. And with them, defensive systems our ancestors built to fight the void. But they can only be awakened by quantum signatures matching our new configurations. So that's why we found Earth's quantum technology so impossible to detect or counter, Zach still mused. You weren't building on established principles. You were creating entirely new approaches that even the original builders hadn't imagined. Exactly, Marcus smiled. The greatest scientific advances often come from having to solve problems from scratch, without preconceptions. By forcing us to start over, our ancestors ensured we'd find new ways to fight an old enemy. Admiral Torres stepped forward. Governor, the library's data makes one thing clear. The galaxy's species need to stop competing and start preparing. The void consciousness is stirring again. That's why the archives are awakening now. We need every civilization's unique perspective, every different approach to quantum physics and dimensional mechanics. Zach still bowed his head. The Concordia offers its full cooperation. Our arrogance nearly cost us the alliance we'll need most in the coming conflict. Sarah turned back to the quantum displays, watching as more of humanity's legacy revealed itself. The library had shown them wonders beyond imagination, but also terrifying threats. Yet she felt hope. Humanity had faced extinction before and chosen to start over rather than submit. They had hidden themselves away, evolved new strengths, and emerged stronger. The old archives called Earth the Cradle, she said softly. Not because it was where we began, but because it was where we were reborn. And now it's time for humanity to help birth something new. A galaxy united not by empire or force, but by the need to face the darkness together. As if in response to her words, the library's quantum core pulsed with renewed energy. More data began streaming into their systems. Defense plans, quantum weapon designs, star maps marking the locations of other archives. But most importantly, it showed them what their ancestors had learned too late. No species, no matter how advanced, could face the void alone. The dawn of a new age was breaking across the galaxy. Humanity had reclaimed its heritage, but their greatest challenge still lay ahead. The question was no longer whether Earth's primitive humans could match the galaxy's advanced species. The question was whether all of them together could face what was coming from the darkness between the stars. The last laugh had become something far greater, a second chance for all of civilization.